Hi folks, my name's Jason Burns and I'm going to be reading to you a sermon by the Edwards, who preached a famous sermon called Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God at Enfield, Connecticut, July 8th, 1741. And the text is, "Their foot shall slide in due time," Deuteronomy 32:35. Jonathan Edwards says, "In this verse is threatened the vengeance of God on the wicked, unbelieving Israelites, who were God's visible people, and who lived under the means of grace, but who, notwithstanding all God's wonderful works towards them, remained, as in verse 28, void of counsel, having no understanding in them. Under all the cultivations of heaven they brought forth bitter and poisonous fruit," as in the two verses next preceding the text. The expression I have chosen for my text, "their foot shall slide in due time," seems to imply the following things relating to the punishment and destruction which these wicked Israelites were exposed. They were always exposed to destruction as one that stands or walks in slippery places, always exposes to fall. This is implied in the manner of the destruction coming upon them, being represented by their foot sliding. The same is expressed in Psalm 73:18. "Surely thou didst set them in slippery places, thou castest them down into destruction." It implies that they were always exposed to sudden, unexpected destruction. Destruction, as he that walketh in slippery places is every moment liable to fall. He cannot foresee one moment whether he shall stand or fall in the next, and when he does fall, he falls at once without warning, which also expressed in Psalm 73:18-19, "Surely thou didst set them in slippery places, thou cast them down into destruction. How are they brought into desolation as in a moment?" Another thing implied is that they are liable to fall of themselves without being thrown down by the hand of another, and he that stands or walks on slippery ground needs nothing but his own weight to be thrown. That the reason why they are not fallen already and do not fall now is only that God's appointed time is not come. For it is said that when that due time or appointed time comes, their foot shall slide. Then they shall be left to fall as they are inclined. By their own weight God will not hold them up in these slippery places any longer, but will let them go. And then at the very instant they shall fall into destruction, as he that stands on such slippery declining ground or the edge of a pit, he cannot stand alone. When he is let go, he immediately falls and is lost. The observation from the words that I would now insist upon is this: there is nothing that wicked men at any one moment out of hell but the mere pleasure of God. By the mere pleasure of God I mean his sovereign pleasure. His arbitrary will, restrained by no obligation, hindered by no manner of difficulty, any more than nothing else but God's mere will had in the least degree, or in any respect whatsoever, any hand in the preservation of wicked men one moment. The truth of this observation may appear by the following consideration. There is no want of power in God to cast wicked men into hell at any moment. Men's hands cannot be strong when God rises up. The strongest have no power to resist him, nor can any deliver out of his hands. He is not only able to cast wicked men into hell, but he can most easily do it. Sometimes an earthly prince meet with a great deal of difficulty subdue a rebel who has found means to fortify himself, and has made himself strong by the numbers of his followers. But it is not so with God. There is no fortress that is any defence from the power of God. Though hand join in hand and vast multitudes of God's enemies combine and associate themselves, they are easily broken in pieces. They are as great heaps or of light chaff before the whirlwind, or large quantities of dry stubble before the devouring flames. We find it easy to tread on and crush a worm that we see crawling on the earth, so it is easy for us to cut or singe a slender thread that anything hangs by. Thus easy it is for God, when he pleases, to cast his enemies down to hell. What are we that we should think to stand before him, at whose rebuke the earth trembles, before whom the rocks are thrown down. We're going to finish it there. It's only a quarter of the sermon, but it gives you a little taste of great preaching from the great Jonathan Edwards.